There was a story written by Elizabeth S. Ballard for Home Life magazine in 1976, and this story became the most widely requested reprint in the history of the magazine. And it goes something like this. There was a 5th grade teacher by the name of Mrs. Thompson. And on the very first day of school, standing in front of her 5th grade class, she told all of the students a lie. Like every other teacher, she said that she would treat them all fairly, and she assured them that she would love them all the same. But that couldn't possibly be true because right there in the middle row, slumped over, poorly clothed, in his seat, was dirty little Teddy Stoddard, who she despised. She saw last year that he had severe behavior problems. He didn't get on well with the rest of the students. He barely paid attention in class. And he just got under her skin. As a matter of fact, she would always wait till last to mark all of his papers and then took delight putting a big red X right through his work and handing it back to him because little Teddy clearly showed no effort and no concern for his schoolwork. And it was part of the school's policy that every single teacher had to review the past records of every other student. And as she was going through everyone in her class, she deliberately put little Teddy's records until last. But when she picked up his records and read them that day, she was completely ashamed of herself and astonished by what she found. His 2nd grade teacher writes, "Teddy is a delightful student. He's one of the most popular in the class. He's alert, attentive, intelligent, cheerful, beautiful little boy." His 3rd grade teacher writes, "Teddy's a joy to be around and probably one of the more advanced students in the class. But I'm concerned for him. His mother is terminally ill, and his father is an abusive alcoholic and shows absolutely no interest in Teddy." 4th grade teacher writes, "Teddy is withdrawn. He's frequently depressed. He sleeps in class. He's having trouble with his relationships with the other students. And the death of his mother is really hard on him. And sometimes he comes in even bruised. I fear that if steps aren't taken to assure his safety at home, he's going to have real problems in the future." It got even worse for her a few weeks before the holidays when all the kids brought in presents for Mrs. Thompson, beautifully wrapped with a nice bow on top, except for Teddy. His present was wrapped in an old paper bag he got from the grocery store. And all the students started to laugh hysterically when Mrs. Thompson pulled out the present, a rhinestone bracelet with many of the stones missing, and a bottle of perfume a quarter way full. But she stifled the students' laughter by putting on the bracelet and exclaiming how beautiful it was, and by dabbing some of the perfume on her wrist and saying how sweetly it smelled. That day, Teddy waited around after class just long enough to tell Mrs. Thompson, "Mrs. Thompson, today you smell just like my mom used to." Mrs. Thompson sat in her seat for about an hour after the students had left and wept. She was so completely ashamed of herself that that very day she stopped teaching reading, arithmetic, and writing. She started teaching children. She focused effort and attention on Teddy. She stayed with him late after class, met him early, and the more attention she gave him, the more his mind seemed to spring alive. By the end of the school year, he was one of her top students. Well, the very next year, she came into class and found a note under her door. It was from Teddy. He said he was making new friends and he was doing better in school, but he wanted to just reassure her that even though he had a new teacher, she was still the best and favorite teacher he ever had. Well, a few years had gone by, and she got another note under the door. It was from Teddy, simply saying that he was leaving school, top of his class, and he was even going on to university. But he wanted to just assure her that she was still the best and favorite teacher he ever had. Well, a few years went by and she hadn't heard from Teddy, but then another letter came. And it said that he had done so well in university that he had decided to take his education even further. And he said that over the past few years, things had been very, very hard with his father and the loss of his mother, but wanted to reassure her that she was still the best and favorite teacher he ever had. Well, a few years later, Mrs. Thompson got yet another letter saying that thanks to her encouragement, he had gone even further and just wanted to reassure her she was still the best and favorite teacher he had ever had. But this time, his name was a bit longer. Theodore Stoddard, MD. Well, less than a year later, which was kind of unusual, Mrs. Thompson got yet another letter from Teddy, and he explained that, well, he kind of met this girl, and they were going to be married. But his father had passed away from cirrhosis of the liver just a couple of years ago, and was wondering if Mrs. Thompson would come to his wedding and assume the place on the dais that's usually reserved for the mother of the groom. Of course, she agreed. When she showed up at his wedding, they hadn't seen each other for many, many years, and she was wearing the bracelet with the rhinestones missing and the perfume that she had got as a gift from Teddy. And he grabbed her, and they hugged each other tight. And he said, you know, Mrs. Thompson, I couldn't have done this without you. Thank you, because you were the only person when I was a child who ever believed in me. And her eyes just welled up, and she had a lump in her throat. And with a trembling voice, this old woman could barely speak. And she said, Teddy, you have got it all wrong. You saved me. I didn't know how to teach until I met you. And I think as we listen to these outstanding presenters, my colleagues and my dear friends, I think the catalyst between taking that information and turning it into something magnanimous for us and for the people we come in contact with, helping them not only achieve their fitness goals, but ascend towards who and what they're ultimately capable of becoming, starts with the realization that although our sciences are indispensable and our core competencies can never be reinvented often enough or instilled deep enough, I think magnificence, the difference between a trainer and a true industry leader, is born the moment we have the realization that we need to stop training merely bodies, but the human being that resides within them. Have a great conference. Thank you very much.